Okay, so let's roast your art. First contestant, we have dazzelmethat, and they've asked me to take a look at their blog and see if I have any advice on improving composition and the color palette. And also I have to agree that doing digital art is always gonna feel stiffer than traditional. Let's see. I love his belly here. Love that. We need some more representation of, people who does not look like skinny models. You have quite expressive line art. I love that. You have a distinct style too. Like you can see there's consistency in every art that we see here. Love the texture here. Love I don't know what you put on here, but you can see like the gradient here and the texture here. It looks really grainy and traditional and really cool. As for what you ask me to help with, composition is a really complicated thing. And in order to be good at that, in order to understand it, you have to understand other concepts, all the more basic concepts first. This one, for example. Okay, so first we're gonna have to go through again some of the basic concepts on what composition is, because I'm going to critique based on these fundamental theory. So composition is made up of smaller elements, and those are line, shape, texture, colors, and light. And in order to control that, we have to know these principles that we can base on to arrange our elements to give the meaning that you want to give from your art. I know that this sounds very basic, very easy to understand, but we are gonna go a lot more in depth as we critique your art. Okay, so the first, and I think one of the most important principle in composition is contrast and balance. So basically what it says is that contrast is going to bring out the focus of your piece. Like, for example, contrast between light and dark, your attention is going to be brought into that. Contrast of hot and cold here, like the hot yellow and the cold sky, is gonna bring your attention into the subject. Or the sharp straight line here, and your curved line at the end here, or at the curves of the thighs. The second principle in composition is rhythm. We can also take the example of the clown here from the sky. Like you can very clearly, easily see that it has this movement here, that it will direct your eye to look here in this direction. It will naturally to your subject here. Great. And then you can see that from the direction of this character's eye, it will lead your eye to look into their friend here. And then from the way the body is positioned, it will lead your eye to look downward to here. And that leaves us a really nice and smooth flow of story here. And that is great. And I think you did a really good job at that. To me, rhythm is a really important principle to remember when making a composition. to make your art look more dynamic and more coherent. But to me, these three are the most important and the most basic one that you will do well with just these three in mind, because I only remember these three. Okay, so if we go more in depth into what can be improved here, let's go through each of the elements. From the first look, I can tell that I really love how expressive your lines are. Like, it's very traditional, very grainy, very expressive. I really love that. However, you have to be mindful of like little like extras here, little, the thing that pokes out of the original line here, or like when the line is not colored in like this, or the extra lines that are not cleaned up here. I'm not entirely sure if there is like a meaning or an intention behind it or not, but for this, but you have to keep in mind that these small but many little mistakes in quotation mark are going to make your composition disjointed and scattered, because these are contrasting. The 90-degree line here will are contrasting, and it will draw your attention into it, which we do not want, because we want the attention to flow in this rhythm and to focus on the two characters. So what I suggest you to do is try to take some time to just clean these up really quickly. The thing with composition is that you have to look at the big picture, but also at the same time, pay attention to the small things and try to be clean as you go, because the small thing is going to distract the audience if you don't clean those up. So I have to explain something. Composition is made up of small elements, and those elements have properties to them. Line have properties such as line weight and opacity. Line weight, which determine how thin and how bold your line are. So usually, the thing that you don't want the audience to focus on is gonna have thinner line weight and low opacity. What I suggest you can do here is to make these lines in the background, which we do not want the audience to focus on, thinner, and lower the opacity of them. Or maybe you don't even really have to keep you can just paint it over like with a solid color like this, and it will make your composition cleaner and more coherent. So my way of putting it is that when you don't have to think about less consequential things like the pattern on the tapestry, you can spend that energy onto giving more details on your characters. Instead, this part right here, it's sticking out because the line weight is really heavy and the opacity is high. Like, this here is good because the opacity is low and the line weight is small, but the line at the edge here is sticking out. Same thing with the toes here. I don't really talk much, so I've only been talking for like 10 minutes and my voice is already like not feeling great and I am parched. Let's go to shape. This is like a pretty balanced composition, and we can see there are some easily seen shapes that make up the composition, like this huge rectangle of the sky here that frame both of your characters, and that is amazing. I really love that. Two characters, you simplify the shape of the characters, you can see that they are both triangles like this that face each other and pretty balanced, and is contrasted from this rectangular shape of the sky here, so they are standing out, and that is really a good thing to have in your composition. However, I think that maybe we can skip to color and light for a bit, because they are shapes and color and light or any other elements, to be honest. They are kind of interlinked, and you can't really talk about one element without talking about the other, because shapes are also made up of line, texture, color, and light. That is why if you simplify your two characters, they can be seen as triangles right here, but the colors that made up of your characters are cutting that simplified shape into a smaller area. For example, the green and the pink here, which are the opposite on the color wheel here, so they are going to contrast. And so right here, this satch belt is drawing away your attention. However, it's not that noticeable. And also because your rhythm of the whole piece is like this, the direction of the satch is pointing with the direction of the whole piece, so I don't think it would be that much of a problem. However, we can try to change the color of the satch and see if it does anything. Personally, I think that it improves the coherence of the composition a little bit. If you still want to keep it green, we can try another method. The color is probably more realistically or more compositionally coherent. It would be leaning more into like a warmer green. Another thing that I think that we can kind of improve on is the texture of the tapestry here. Smoothing out the tapestry here just kind of make the silhouette of the person pops out, because it's a smooth surface. Behind next, we're going to move on into grainy the color and light element shapes and form here. I think this is like a really cute looking, really pastel-y, really vibrant color palette, asking me how to improve on your color palette. And there are some ways we can do that. The part over here, everything that is standing in the really dark light here, would be in a much cooler color. While the part where it's standing in more bright light here, you can just keep it as is because it still receives a lot of light. So what we can do to improve here is to make the shadow of this whole big area more consistent and cooler. And I also try to bring down the saturation of the shadow that this character has, because this hot dark pink here is because the rest of the shadow in this art piece have really low saturation except for this area of hot dark pink, and it will stand out. Another trick that I like to do to bring the whole piece together, even when I'm thumbnailing or like finishing the piece, is to put in a gradation map layer, like this thing right here, and lower the opacity and overpaint it and fix whatever you want to fix and detail whatever you want to detail. And I think, yeah, that's it for the critic on your art. Dazzelmethat. Everyone go check out dazzelmethat's art blog and give them a follow and reblog. That would be really kind. Their art are really cute and amazing. Feel free to give me another ask if you have any other questions, or if you need any advice on other things as well. That's it for today. Thank you for watching.